Today I'm going to take you through my process for charting songs. I use this with my iPad on stage with cover bands and with the tribute bands that I'm a part of in primarily pop and rock settings. And it's a work in progress, but it's working pretty well. It's enabled me to get through some tough gigs where I had to learn a lot of songs very quickly, and I'll show you how I did it. But first, let me take you through the gig that I had on Friday night with the two tribute bands that I'm a part of. Okay, so we're heading down to the Jersey Shore for this gig. The place was called the Anchor Rock Club. They have a pretty full gig calendar, a really nice room. I was going down there to play with the Smiths tribute band, the Smiths and Morrissey tribute band that I've played with for the last couple of years, and the sort of sister band from that band, which does The Cure. And so we approached the venue and just offer two acts, and it's a really compelling sort of tribute package that we can do. A lot of the fans cross over between those two bands. And anyway, we got down to Atlantic City, and after kind of finding parking and sort of getting settled, we just went down to the boardwalk for a little tour around. Getting down here in the summertime is crazy, and if you're from suburban Philadelphia, you know what I'm talking about. But this was still May, so not too bad, not too packed full of people, but just a beautiful day for us to be performing. Like I said, the venue was really nice big stage. It was an old building with a balcony and a really good spot for a rock show. Just getting set up on stage here, and we have 5-piece configuration for the Cure band and then 4 for the Smiths band. This is the rig that I was using for the gig. I had my 2 basses, my P bass and jazz bass. That jazz bass is the one I've probably had the longest, maybe 30 years now. And I use my big speaker for this. Here's the crowd as they're kind of coming in as we get ready to start with the Smiths part. We're going to do 75 minutes for each show, so this is pretty long, a lot of material, like a 40 song gig. And away we go. So the goal of these performances is to try and mimic the artist's recording as closely as you can. And what we're trying to do there is sound as much like The Cure and the Smiths as we can. And I use charts to try and make sure that I stay on track on stage. Here are some examples of some charts that I found online. And these I would consider to be more learning charts, right? So if you don't already understand the song, or if you're having trouble, hearing the bass or pecking out the progression, you could download one of these. And this one's from big bass tabs. It's got tablature for the different sections. And if you've never played the song before, you're not familiar with it, you'd put a recording on, get your bass, and you can learn it from this. Where this falls short is during your stage performance. Here's another example from Chord's, very similar approach. During your performance, right, you need to be able to look at your bandmates. You need to be able to look at the crowd. You need to perform. And so if your head's buried in a chart, and this is a very common complaint with sort of cover band musicians and tribute band musicians, they're just looking down and focused on the chart the whole time. And so what I like to do is I like to create these stage charts. And the stage charts are really just arrangement maps. I make it my job to know how the song goes. I want to know what the melody is, and I want to know what the general feel of the song is. So for this one, I picked Love Cats, which is a Cure tune. Like, I've heard that song 100 times. I think where I get off track with a song like this is in the arrangement. The songwriter Robert Smith has a tendency to throw sort of arrangement curveballs at you. So, you don't get a lot of the sort of auditory cues that you would get through a studio performance that you're just used to hearing. So you need to create that for yourself, and these charts will help me do that. What I've written down here for this particular one is I have some notes about, the intro and the ending. And so I just say intro, sparse, A minor to F. And that tells me that, the feels change there and I'm playing sparsely. And then I move through the verse and chorus riffs. And I already know what those riffs are. So I really just need the start notes. I need to understand what chords those are and where I'm going. And there's actually a mistake here, I realize now, because it should be A minor. But I understand the song well enough to know that, and just moving through those sections. Where this gets interesting is if you look down after the second verse and you get into the part where it says chorus number 3, right? In that song, Robert Smith doesn't repeat the normal chorus. He actually changes it from the C major to F major to E minor to F major. And again, if you don't understand where that's happening and where that's coming in, you're gonna go left to the rest of the band's going right, and you need to make sure that doesn't happen. I created these type of, I call them stage charts, right? But stage charts for this performance. And I just put them on my iPad, and I used ForScore, which is an application that helps me just, create set lists and just quickly jog through these charts. And I put it on the iPad. And here's a picture of the iPads in use. The guitar player Gus has his on a low mic stand. His is a little bit more, out of the way than mine is. Mine on the left there is up at a hip height iPad stand, and I'm able to just take my finger and slide through the different charts. And again, still able to, run around on stage a little bit, still able to talk to my bandmates. I don't need to be heads down the whole time, and these charts work really well. Some tips that I might give you in regards to creating these: you really need to go through the performance while you're doing it. So, get Spotify, get the recording, and write it out. And you need to find a language that works for you. In mine, I'm saying things like verse and chorus, because those things mean things to me. When I say slide riff, I understand what that means in the context of the song. I think it matters less with the lingo that you use, and more importantly, that you understand the meaning, so that you're on stage and you get what you wrote, and you get that, slide riff means, oh, I'm going to slide up from the open A to B, and making sure that sounds good during your performance. But these were really a lifesaver for me on Friday night. We learned 5 new tunes for this gig that I had never played before. These were long sets, and not a mistake was made, and really proud of that effort. All right, hopefully you found this little primer on stage charts useful. I would really be interested in understanding where you guys have maybe taken this concept. And if anybody else has used this before for their performances, what are some of the things that you put on your stage charts? What are some of the, the lingo that you use, the language that you use? How do you display them? How do you navigate between them? In the comments, let me know, because I'm just developing this process for myself, and I would love to, get ahead of the curve with any good, process that you guys have. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys soon.